Yo, what's up, fam? It's AG from Men of Order. We had a great week last week in week three. Obviously, we hit on the Colts, man. We were on that early. I think it was like Tuesday. We put out that video warning you guys about the Chiefs. They looked like a lock, but that's exactly why we like the Colts. The Lions got it done again. They covered as well. They're 3-0 against the spread, which we'll talk about in a second here. Washington fucked us, but overall, great week, man. Great week with Washington, man. I got to stay away for a couple weeks and kind of reassess them because that offense looked good, man. They got the weapons and everything. But if Carson Wentz can't get rid of the ball or doesn't have time back there, even when he is trying to get rid of it fast, I mean, he got sacked 9 times. You're not going to win games like that. But we ended off the week hot. Me and Chad last night, 76% on our bets. You can barely really see that. I'm not sure how clear it'll be on your screen, but I know you see all those green check marks and not a lot of X's. That's because we hit 76% on everything we said. I even included like the things that we just mentioned because I was trying to be like super honest and I was kind of trying to drop the number because I was like, oh, we got things wrong. We said a couple things wrong. But a couple of those X's we weren't even really big on. We just mentioned it. So I wanted to count those anyway. We still ended up at 76% counting everything. We had a great day. We're going to try to keep it going. Shout out to John Ryan. Shout out to Chad. Shout out to Ant. Shout out to Ty from Pickin' Winners, pickingwinners.org. We had a great week overall on this channel. We're going to keep that going into week 4. But our week 3 recap here, the Dolphins and the Eagles, the top 2 teams in the league, both 3-0, the only undefeated teams left, and it's Bama quarterbacks. All my life, it's been about Bama giving great talent to the NFL in every position except quarterbacks. All the Bama players turn into studs in the NFL. Well, not all, but you know what I mean. They got studs all across the board, but not quarterbacks. My whole life, it's been that way. Maybe the tide is changing on that because we got 2 Bama quarterbacks leading the league. Obviously, the Dolphins, we all expected them to be all right. With that new offense, they got a lot of weapons, a lot of speed. We expected them to do all right, but I didn't think we expected them to be 3-0, especially with the matchups that they played in the first 3 weeks. Nobody was really expecting that, but despite them doing that, they've still only moved up to 4th in the AFC for odds to win the AFC. They're at plus 900 right now with the Ravens, Chiefs, and Bills ahead of them. In the NFC, on the flip side, the team that we thought was just going to make the playoffs by being maybe 7-10 or 8-9 in the NFC East, because all you got to do is win that division and you're in the playoffs, right? They're the other team that's undefeated. They're soaring past our expectations, and they move all the way up to number 1 odds to win the NFC. Everybody loves them. They also shot up to top 3 in Super Bowl betting favorites. So, man, everybody is on the Eagles right now, and you can tell by these numbers here. Since Sunday's games, the Eagles are a popular bet on BetMGM, said John Ewing. 20% of bets, which is the most on the Eagles to win the Super Bowl, 50% of bets, which is the most on the Eagles to win the NFC, and 32% of bets, which is the most on the Eagles to win the NFC East. That is on BetMGM. But nonetheless, I mean, everybody's on the Eagles. Maybe it's because they're doing things like this. And like I was mentioning about Carson Wentz not getting the ball out or getting sacked and whatnot, I mean, I can't believe this was a real stat, like live during the game. I can't believe this is a real graphic. You would think it's photoshopped. Passing yards, 323 for the Eagles, -1 for the Commanders at one point, which is just absolutely insane. But hey, I mean, the Eagles are doing their thing. I like Jalen Hurts. He looks good. I've always liked him. I said he would be all right. I didn't think he was going to be this good. He is dominating right now. The whole team in general is dominating right now. So shout out to the Eagles and Eagles fans. Y'all better enjoy it while it lasts. We'll see how long this goes. Both teams, really, the Dolphins and the Eagles. So we'll see. The price of the brick is going up for Lamar Jackson. He's number 1 in passing touchdowns, number 1 in passer rating right now, and he's tied for number 4 as the leading rusher in the NFL as the quarterback, which is amazing. These stats are always like that with Lamar through like the first couple weeks. So we'll see if he keeps it going. But nonetheless, it's looking like the Ravens made a mistake not signing him before the season. It looks like they're going to, if they do end up re-signing him, it's going to be for a way higher price than what he was asking, especially if he continues to play like this. I mean, seriously, he's got more touchdowns than 30 teams in the NFL this season already in week 3. And the only 2 teams with more than him are his own Ravens and the Lions. And I mean, the Lions, man, they've been impressive. Their offense is legit, in my opinion. They're like one super like legit quarterback, Jared Goff is playing well, but if they get a legit quarterback, man, they're all very young. I was saying it earlier in the week on a show with Chad last week. I mean, they're young in all the right places, and Jared Goff, he's performing well. They're going to get Jameson Williams back at some point. I mean, that offense is scary, man. That offense is scary. The NFC North better watch out for the future of that Lions team. I mean, here you go. We didn't expect it. We expected the Ravens. We expected the Bills, but the Lions being the second highest scoring team in the league after 3 weeks, we definitely didn't expect. So that's what makes this graphic funny. The next topic, the Cincinnati Bengals, the reigning AFC champs, with they had a chance to win the Super Bowl just last year and then started the season 0-2, but they get back on track with a win over the big mighty Jets. I mean, that's how they're making it seem. What, are they back? We just talked about how good the Dolphins are, how hot the Dolphins are, and they're at plus 160 going into Cincy Thursday night. Cincy hasn't proved anything besides that they can beat the Jets. And I'm not even trying to take anything away from the Jets, but it's the Jets. Come on. That looks fishy, man. Me and Chad are 3 for 3 on calling out trap games so far this season. We've hit one every week of the season so far, but we don't want to really get greedy. But we definitely have our eye on this. We're going to watch the money. We'll probably do a show specifically about this game. But I mean, look at that. Something's wrong with that picture. The Dolphins 3-0 just beat the best team in the league, in my opinion, the Buffalo Bills. And they look good, man. They look good. And Cincinnati hasn't looked great at all. I mean, they beat the Jets. So what? But yeah, they're coming in as favorites. So it looks like they want all the money to come in on the Dolphins because everybody's like, whoa, why? And they're the underdog. It's favorable to take the Dolphins now. I don't know, man. Might be a trap. Might be a trap. We shall see. But we'll talk about that later in the week anyway. Next, the Raiders, the only 0-3 team in the league. Now, I know Raider Nation tunes in. I'm not going to harp on this too bad. I'm rooting for you guys, man. I don't know what's going on. It doesn't look great. But I will say I have some hope for you. Since 2005, winless teams in Week 4 have gone 49, 32, and 1 for 61% against the spread. This applies to the Texans, who are 0-1-1 or 0-2-1. So they're not 0-3. The Raiders are only 0-3, but they're 0-2-1. So they're both winless teams. Texans are plus 4.5 versus the Chargers, who are injury riddled to the core. So that might hit. And then you got Raiders minus 2.5 versus the Broncos. Broncos haven't looked good at all. They're 2-1 without looking good, which is a good sign for the Broncos, I guess I would say. But I mean, Raiders, if this trend matches up with you guys and what you're rooting for, because you guys are the favorites. So obviously if you cover, that means you win. And the AFC South took care of business against the AFC West over the weekend. They went 3-0 with the Jags beating the Chargers, the Colts beating the Chiefs, and the Titans beating the Raiders. So every team lost. So, pretty much broke even, except Denver. They won. But the Raiders, I mean, you still got a chance, especially if the Chargers can't get over this injury hump. They can sneakily end up being the number 2 team in that division, but they got to start playing well now. They have to win this game next week against the Broncos. Some of these guys are playing for the Chargers, but man, they are injury riddled to the core. Like I just said, we got to add another wide receiver. Jalen Guyton is now out for the season as well. Now they have a lot of depth at wide receiver. I like some of those other guys. So I'm not too worried about him. Herbert's going to be all right, but their left tackle likely to miss the season. The center's out right now with the knee injury. Keenan Allen should be coming back, so we can cross that one off. Bosa just got hurt. JC Jackson. I mean, the Raiders, you got to turn it up now, but you guys have a chance if you do turn it up now. Let's see. The next things I wanted to talk about was the Battle of the GOATs. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers won that. He beat Tom Brady. So it was 14-12, ugly game. Both offenses really need to get going. That's probably the main reason that the Eagles shot up to favorite in the NFC and the favorites to win the Super Bowl as of, out of NFC teams. Because the Buccaneers and the Packers just haven't looked great offensively. They both look very good defensively. So that's a help. But we shall see. I mean, I got to give Brady a little bit of slack with all his players out. Same with Rodgers, really. But they're both 2-1. Brady's got a big matchup coming up Sunday night, which we'll talk about. So he definitely needs to turn it up, though, if they're going to do anything. And the Eagles look hot, man. Their offense looks great, so we'll see. We talked about the Lions' offense and how good they've been. The Lions' touchdown every quarter streak ended in the fourth quarter versus the Vikings. They had a touchdown in every quarter for I think it was 18 or 19 straight quarters, and it didn't end until the fourth quarter of week 3 this year. It started last year, a few games at the end of the season last year. So they're on fire in general. Even though they didn't get a touchdown in the fourth quarter versus the Vikings, they're on fire. Their offense is legit. They got pieces coming back. If they're able to get a really, really solid quarterback in the next 2 years, man, they're going to be legit. We're all watching out for the Lions. This could be an overreaction, but I don't know. It kind of seems legit. The Bills can't win the close games, man. They're 0-7 in their last 7 one-possession games, including playoffs and everything. But, I mean, they blow teams out left and right during the season. But those close games, man, they can't get over the hump right now. 0-7 in their last 7, like I just said. So, we just got to pay attention to that. It definitely scares you. But when you're thinking about betting, that's something that you got to think about because, if they have a big matchup like the Ravens where the spread is 3.5 or 2.5, I mean, it's a close spread. I think it's 2.5 in favor of the Bills. So if the books think it's going to be a close game, I mean, the matchup would tell you it's a close game on paper. You might want to think about not taking the Bills there because they don't win the close games. And speaking of the game that they just lost to the Dolphins, which is a close game, the biggest scandal of the week, Tua coming back in the game. I mean, he was stumbling. It looked like he was definitely concussed. Obviously, I know they're saying that it was a back injury, not a head injury. I don't know how much I buy that. It looks like they were like, hey, we don't care about your 40s. We're about to go beat the Bills, so you need to go back in the game. I don't know. Then we'll see what comes out of that. They're investigating it, obviously. The biggest upset of the week was the Colts over the Chiefs, I would say. We were all over that, so shout out to Men of Order. If you listen to us, you wouldn't have took them in your survivor pool. 60% of people took the Chiefs and the Chargers in their survivor pool. We warned against the Jaguars, or we warned against the Chargers in favor of the Jaguars, saying that the Jaguars are a better team than most people think. So if you would listen to us, I mean, we didn't really pick a side there. I thought the Chargers were going to win. I didn't think it was going to be that bad, but it was bad. It was bad. It was ugly. The Jags look pretty good. They're probably front runners in the AFC South now, especially after that. But the Colts, by far, biggest upset. Nobody expected anything from the Colts. They haven't done anything all season, and then they go in and beat Patty Mahomes and the Chiefs. We were all over it, but I didn't see too many other people. Just saying. Some player highlights from the week that I definitely want to shout out. First of all, I got to shout out Jeff Udoka. Jeff Okuda. Dude, over 3 weeks. Week 1, Devontae Smith, 0 catches, 0 yards. Devontae Smith just went off against the Washington Commanders. So it's not like he's just having a bad season. He went off last week, but he had 0 catches, 0 yards against him. Week 2, Terry McLaurin, who's been going off all season, 2 catches, 22 yards. He went off in the other 2 games. And then week 3, Justin Jefferson, who had a breakout game week 1, and week 2 was kind of slow, but I mean, better than this. He had 3 catches for 14 yards. Jeff Okuda, he's on fire. A lot of people were saying he might be a bust. He's been dealing with some injuries and whatnot, but I mean, he looks great right now. The other players that we should probably shout out, Lamar Jackson, like we mentioned earlier. He went 18 for 29, 218 yards, 4 touchdowns, a pick, but 11 rushes, 107 yards, and a rushing touchdown. The Ravens need to figure out a running game besides Lamar because he's all they got in terms of the running game right now. I think the rest of the running backs combined for the Ravens on the season combined in 3 weeks between all 3 or 4 running backs, I think they're at 137 total yards, literally. And Lamar's at 107 in one game. He hit, I think, 119 the other week. So, or last week, actually, that was. But, yeah, so he's got just about 137 in 2 games so far compared to the rest of the running backs. So they need to figure something out with that. J.K. Dobbins being back. Hopefully he'll get more reps next week for them. Mark Andrews, to go along with that, I mean, he's Lamar's favorite target. He had 8 catches, 89 yards, and 2 touchdowns today. Mac Hollins, or not today, over the weekend. Mac Hollins, 8 catches, 158 yards, and a touchdown. He also went 1 for 1 passing for 4 yards, so he's 100% on the season there. Khalil Herbert, when David Montgomery went down, he turned up 20 rushes, 157 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They got the win over the Texans. Cordero Patterson, who played wide receiver for 15 years and then decided he's one of the better running backs in the league, 17 rushes for 141 yards and a touchdown. A rookie spotlight, 2 wide receivers went off over the weekend. Chris Olave for the Saints, 9 catches, 147 yards. Romeo Doubs for the Packers quickly became Aaron Rodgers' favorite target over the weekend against the Bucs. 8 catches, 73 yards, and a touchdown. Now, here's some overall odds just to pay attention to, or I wouldn't say odds, trends in the betting world to pay attention to going through the rest of the season. The underdogs are 21 and 26 and 1 straight up. So they're faring pretty well. And in terms of like the value that's been on some of those winning underdogs, it's up 8 units in total if you if you track it like that. And the underdogs are 29 and 18 and 1 against the spread, so that's doing well. Teams getting less than 40% of the bets are 13 and 6 against the spread. So that contrarian strategy that we use so often here on this show has been hitting at a pretty high percentage so far. The unders are hitting at 30 and 18, and the unders in prime time are 7 and 3, arguably 8 and 2. Last night it ended up closing at 38.5, and they scored 39. So that's going to count as a hit for the over, but most of us got it at 39.5. We got it at 39.5 on the show yesterday at the under. So we hit the under 39.5 because there's 39 total points, but it closed at 38.5. So that's counting as an over on the official record. The best over teams to bet on, Falcons are 3-0 on the over, which is pretty surprising considering we didn't expect too much from that offense. But maybe it's their defense allowing points, but they've been in the game, so they're fighting back. So there's a lot of points being scored. The Browns are 3-0 also. The Lions 3-0, obviously we know how much they're scoring on their own and they don't have the best defense. So that kind of makes sense. The Ravens are 2-1 on the over. Titans are 2-1 on the over. Jags and Commanders are also 2-1. But the overs, like I just said before on the last slide, are only 18 and 30 for 38% this season. The best under teams to bet on, the Bengals 3-0. Man, the Packers, Bucks. I mean, I was just talking about all three of their offenses. They're all 3-0 on the under, so that makes sense. The 49ers, Broncos, I mean, we saw that game Sunday night. There's no surprise there. And the Colts 3-0 on the under as well. The trends against the spread for the season, the Lions, we love them. 3-0 against the spread. We've hit all 3 weeks on the Lions covering their spread. So, I mean, shout out to them. They're putting money in our pockets this year. Then we got the Dolphins 3-0 against the spread, the Falcons 3-0 against the spread, and the Texans 3-0 against the spread. The worst teams against the spread so far, Patriots 0-2-1, the Raiders 0-3, and the Saints 0-3. Man, I can't. The Raiders haven't even covered. Shout out to Wasted Talent. Shout out to Raider Nation. I'm rooting for you guys, man. I feel for you guys. Let's look ahead to week 4. So our primetime games, like I mentioned, the Dolphins at the Bengals. We'll probably be talking a lot about that game. The way the line looks, man, it looks fishy. Like I said, we don't want to get greedy and start missing on these setup calls. But that looks a little weird. So it's very interesting. We'll put some more thought behind it and probably do a show eventually. The Sunday night game is the Chiefs at the Broncos. Patty Mahomes, it's not Chiefs at the Broncos. I had that written in my notes. It's the Chiefs at the Bucks. We got Patty Mahomes coming off a loss to the Colts, visiting Tom Brady, and the Bucks coming off a loss to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. So that's setting up to be a really, really fun Sunday night primetime game. But I mean, the Bucks are going to have to score if they're going to keep up with the Chiefs offense, or they're just going to have to really stop them very well. I mean, their defense is good. Their defense is playing very well. They just stopped Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. It's possible. The Colts just stopped the Chiefs, held them to, 17, I think, or whatever. Yeah, 17 points. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. We'll do some more discussions on these games, obviously, throughout the week. And then Monday night, we finish off the week with the Rams at the 49ers. The biggest game of the week, like we just talked about, the Chiefs at the Bucks, but also we have the Bills at the Ravens, a 1 p.m. game on CBS, man. How do we have Josh Allen visiting Lamar Jackson, 2 MVP frontrunners this year? Shout out to John Ryan for calling Jalen Hurts before he started going off for MVP, by the way, because now he's moved up to the frontrunner. And, but yeah, how is that a 1 p.m. game covered by all the other 1 p.m. games? I mean, Red Zone's going to be electric and fun that day, but man, that sucks. You would hope that would be like a Sunday night game or a Thursday night game or a Monday night game, primetime action. Especially the way the primetime games have been set up lately, not really too exciting. I mean, this week, it looks like we're getting some better ones, but I mean, I would have loved for that to be a primetime game. The duds of the week are the Jets at the Steelers, in my opinion, and the Bears at the Giants. Those games aren't exciting. I'm looking forward to betting nothing on those games, but we'll probably talk about them, maybe at least one of those at some point throughout the week. So yeah, just check in, man. I just want to do a little week 3 recap. Talk about what you guys should be looking for, what you needed to know going into week 4, especially with some of those trends that I showed up here. take a deep look and pay attention to these. You can refer back to this video and whatnot when you're looking at the odds and what you're thinking about taking. So that was kind of the point of this video. We'll be back throughout the week with John Ryan, with Chad, with Ant, with Ty, maybe even some others. We'll see. So yeah, that's about it. That's all I got for you. Go ahead and subscribe to Men of Order. We are on fire right now, so we're hoping to keep that going through week 4. Peace. Maybe even some others. We'll see. So yeah, that's about it. That's all I got for you. Go ahead and subscribe to Men of Order. We are on fire right now, so we're hoping to keep that going through week 4. Peace.